is that money that is for like all the, sorry, is that for like all the past chiefs and whatnot, from Lions all the way up through? Are we still paying retirement fund for that? Or just currently who we employ?
Currently, we employ, we're not a big enough town to have to pay on past dues.
Current only. The rules could change. Again, these aren't rules that we made or even accepted. They're rules that came to us, and the landscape is moving, for good or ill.
And is this money that goes into a state fund, or how does that, what are the mechanics of that?
It goes up to Concord and is invested in some strictly regulated, sequestered something or other that may or may not be there when our employees retire and need it.
And is there any sense of what our retirement obligation is versus how much of that is funded?
It's way underfunded. Our obligation is to pay as a percentage of wages only.
35%.
We're now paying the state share as well. I hope you got that memo. But we're not in a position yet. I mean, this could change, John. This could change. The legislature could come back to us and say, well, there's a big hole in the pension, and we're going to require the towns to pay a special assessment to fill that hole. It hasn't happened yet. I don't think it would be very successful in this particular branch, in this particular session of the legislature, but it's not a problem that's unique to this state. Certainly Orange County went through it unsuccessfully a couple of years ago. I got no particular reason to think that the outcome is going to be happy for us.
So you have numbers on what our unfunded liability is? Because basically, if it's underfunded, you have, at some point you have to pay the pensions out, and you know what the liability there is?
I am far from being an expert on this, and I'm looking for one, but my understanding is that we have no unfunded liability as an individual town. The state, in its collective management of that fund, has a multi-billion-dollar shortfall at the moment. Is that right? Well, you're the new guy. Let's ask Ann. She was up there for years.
I was only there 2 years, but I know.
Felt longer.
I know that it was worked on, and there were some changes made. I can remember
That's all right.
what they were, but it was not solved.
No, it was downshifted, as Matt's term.
It was not solved.
As much as I admired our former governor, he was quite quick to sign the bill that said we would pick up what used to be considered the state's share of that funding.
And that wasn't done by my group, I have to tell you. So don't blame those of us who were there.
I'm blaming John because he's the new guy. That's the only fair thing to do. I'm sorry, Rich, I don't have a quick or glib answer for this. I don't think there's any good news in our future when it comes to pensions. I think the system will bankrupt itself, and depending on the bravery of the people in the legislature at that moment, that's when the decision will get made as to whether we're picking up the bill, the employees are foregoing some benefit that they had under contract, or we spend the next 18 years in litigation and every lawyer in the state gets a new BMW and we still get to pay the bill. I don't have a clue.
In regards to percentage of an increase, can you tell us compared to 2012 to 2013? I know the town does not give their employees a raise by that definition, but you do increase health care payment to your employees and such. Can you tell me from 2012 to the projected to 2013 how much of an increase is going to be?
I can tell you what the healthcare increase was. We try to be grown up and not paternalistic about this. We sit down with our people every year and say, look, here's my problem. Would you rather continue your healthcare coverage as it is, which they pay 13.5% of already, which is going up 8.4%, or would you rather negotiate some different version of that that included an increase in your wages? And they were unanimous again this year in saying, we need the health care more than we need the wages. I'm not sure that's the right answer, but I am sure that that's the right process.
Okay, I was just trying to see what the percentage difference would be.
8.4 is the magic number. It was bigger last year. It was 11 and a half maybe. I don't know. I really can't help you here. I mean, maybe you've got something to say, but every year we do this, and we sit down and we do it, and every year I say over and over again, look, here's an opportunity for a buyout. I would much rather increase your wages, a significant amount of money, than continue to provide you with health care insurance. So far, a couple of people have taken us up on that. It's a good deal for everybody, I believe, but I also confess I don't have much insight into the private finances of our long or short-term employees. I think we're headed to our own personal fiscal cliff here. We did this year our diligence again. We went to the public market and received proposals. This kind of coverage will cost this much money. I went to the private market and handed out the identical request for proposals. And the thing that really astonished me and kind of pissed me off was that those two numbers were so close to each other. I would have thought that the giant nonprofit organization, local government center, that's running the health insurance pool, for right or wrong, would have lower operating overhead and fewer helicopters and tall buildings in Hartford, and maybe they do and maybe they don't, but the two numbers were close enough together to make you think about collusion. Too harsh a word?
No, I mean, everything we've looked at seems to be some sort of actuarial Hobson's choice. I mean, you do the numbers, you can do it however you want. The picture still kind of looks like Mickey Mouse in the end of it all. What we're really focusing on is new employees. What are we going to do with new employees? We're working with Marcello now. We're getting ready to hire our full-time second police officer that we approved last year. You approved last year. And what we're looking for there, it looks pretty much like we're going to head towards an HSA. We're going to go to the whole other side of how this gets done. It's a health savings account. Okay? And right now we got to work out the details to figure out how we would present this. And right now we're looking at that we would probably fund the HSA for at least the first year, maybe even the second year, and then it would go to some sort of matching 1-for-1, 50-to-1, whatever it ended up being after that. If we think that's where that's where it's going to end up. And of course, November 2014 is coming, or November 2013 is coming, which is going to determine what happens in 14 as far as the Affordable Care Act, to see what, if the exchange opens up, what impact does it have? Does it have an impact? Because nobody still really knows at all. So we sit here asking those questions as well. But we looked it up, down, left, right, front to back, side to side. And nothing seemed to work out right. The employees did forego the raise. Their FICA tax did go up, as we know. Their percentage went up because the cost went up.
I was just going to say that last year in the pension debate, for state employees, we tried to get a 401k rather than a new hire, rather than the present system, but couldn't get it.
Well, that was in a collective bargaining environment, which does not, at this time, describe where we are. We still are, I think, convivial enough not to have to take it to that point. Times change.
Other discussion on personnel administration? Not, line G, planning and zoning, $8,900. Any discussion? Line H, general government buildings, $189,700. Any discussion?
I got something here.
Yes, Mike?
So currently in the maintenance and repairs line, that's going to be page 5. It's going to be the third line down. Okay? Like church in your hymnal. Right now we've got, in 2013, we've got $27,000 in there. I got it memorized. And we've got some work to do on our buildings this year. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do for sure, but one of the things we are confident is I did go up and look at the roof in the East Alstead Fire Station, and it needs the shingles to be done. The shingles are coming off the building, and what's on there is in the best condition. You're right, it's not that old, and they put pretty much the cheapest shingle they could put on there. We. And the shingles are coming off that building. I don't know.
Who here can remember what year that was built?
Bruce knows.
John knows.
About. Yeah. You've been looking
It's in
at
your
it.
front yard. When did it show up?
When Jim O'Brien was here.
Okay, so that was prior to 2001,
Okay, Billy Waddell was selectman.
88.
88, 87.
I think it was after that.
Kim might know.
Barry designed that.
It's 17 years old.
There you go. Thank you, Kim. So those 25-year shingles lasted 17 years?
I think you'll find that due to budget constraints when that building was built, they used 15-year shingles.
So who do we have to give the extra 2 years to?
Like the weather.
I'm sorry, that was unfair. I'm going to hijack this conversation just for a second and tell you how this works. We got a lot of different kinds of people in town who know stuff and do stuff, and we depend on them informally to help us figure out how much stuff costs. In this case, we asked Tom Rogers, who lived in Alstead for a long time, he's in Ackworth now, Lang to give us a quick bid, how bad could it be? And that's a great service that he provides. That does not mean he gets the job. The jobs, if they are awarded, go out to bid. I want to be clear about that. But we will take professional advice for context.
Oh, good. So, the bid for Mr. Rogers is $28,000 for that roof. So what I'm proposing we do is add $20,000 to this line because that's not the only thing the station needs. The freeze boards are rotted, it needs some more paint. The siren doesn't work, it needs to come off. It's probably going to stay off. We're looking at a reverse 911 system to replace it. But we may end up repairing it and putting it back on. If we do put it back on, we're going to have to repair it.
Reverse T11, not reverse.
No reverse 911. Yes, sir. So, between that and a couple of the other things that we might like to do to some of our buildings this year, not the least of which is more energy efficiency projects, I'm going to propose that we add another $20,000 to that line. And then what? Oh yeah,
Turns
change
the
it.
total into 209,700.
Right, turns the total to 209,700. But that's only me, and that's only a motion. I didn't even get a second yet. Appreciate the support.
I have a question. At the budget hearing, we had a total for that line of 173.7. And I'm trying to, and I think now the sheet you handed out tonight has 189.7. So what changed?
Okay, I have a second from John Burrows on my motion to amend line H to add $20,000.
Answer Rich's question, though. What's the date on it?
Is it the virus? There's something, there's a line item.
Maybe it was the, how much, what did you have, 173?
Well, I
Yeah,
had what I was
177.
given last time, that was 173.7.
So that's, that is the grant line. I say, believe, 15,000. You probably didn't have the grant in there. Because that was for, the sidewalk.
Works for me.
And it's not, it's an in and an out. If we don't get the grant, it won't be.
That's what it is, it's the grant for the sidewalk from the end
That
of
was
the
in,
street.
that was in last time. It looks to me like there's a line in there called Violet Dam and Warren Dam that wasn't in last time.
Oh, that's what it is. It is, because we're gonna have to do it. That's right, that's
That's our
what it is.
All right, yeah,
The
let's
flow study.
explain that then.
Yeah,
So,
let me see you explain that.
yeah, that's,
There's also a sidewalk somewhere.
Good work, good deductive work, Linda.
Yeah.
So, everybody knows we've got the letters of deficiency on the Warren Dam and the Vilas Dam. Well, if you know, we did. And in order to keep them happy and at bay, what we're doing is we're hiring a hydrologist to do the hydrology report, because we have to have an updated hydrology report so the engineers can do what they need to do. That bid covers those hydrology reports.
Did we know that at the hearing?
We forgot it.
I do it.
We did.
We were gonna put it.
We
in
were
the
gonna put it
warrant.
as a warrant article and we
Yeah.
forgot it. And we forgot it. We wanted to put it on as a warrant article. We forgot to mention it, so we couldn't put it as a warrant article. So after the meeting, we decided at the next selectmen's meeting that we would put it in the budget. Because we did have to do that. It slipped our minds as a warrant article. That's a fact.
Okay, this is discussion now on the amendment to the line A.
I was asking, I was a volunteer firefighter for over 30 years, and I know in my department, when the building needed anything, the men got together and painted it, did new roof on it and so on, and the town paid for the supplies only. And I was wondering, where we're so tight with money and things, why couldn't, I'm not offending him or the chief by any means, but why couldn't they think about doing that, because that would save us a lot of money.
Jim, would you care to speak to that, or what? Someone else?
We don't have any roofers on the department anymore, any more than we've got an electrician or a plumber. That's the whole thing.
Okay. Then I say I was just bringing that up.
John?
I'll speak to that. I live right behind that fire station, and I don't know how many of you realize how many volunteer hours these members are putting in just for education. Well, I think we're asking enough of them as it is.
Joe?
Yeah, Joe Cartwright, Alstead Road. This is gonna be a shingle roof,
Yeah.
would it be cheaper to do a metal roof?
Well, the problem with the metal roof on that particular building is the vast majority of the parking is on the east side. So a metal roof would take out any vehicles that would be parked there and or would provide a real issue with snow removal and so on and so forth. If the building were oriented a different, well, even that wouldn't work because then it's in front of the doors for the fire engines, that would be even worse. We did think about it. Right, we're gonna do the best shingle we can get, which is probably gonna be 50+ years, but metal, we did think about it, we really did, but it just logistically, it seemed like it was a hazard, to be honest with you.
Well, there's someplace else we could park cars. Across the street,
No,
across the street.
no.
John, give us more land.
Yeah, it would be good to know that John here did actually donate that land. And I quite honestly don't want our volunteer firemen up there doing roofs and getting workmen's, no. Okay.
Any other discussion on amending line A? If not, I will take a vote on the motion to amend line H by increasing it by $20,000 to, that would be $109,700.
$209,700.
$209,700. All of those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I will declare that the amendment passed. So that line is now amended. And we'll wait till we get done before we worry about adding up the grand total. Line I, cemetery, 3,500, oh, I'm sorry. Line 8, general government buildings. Is there more discussion on line 8?
Is this, I don't know if this is the proper time to bring up at the hearing, I asked a question, I think there are fuel costs built in here, and they're in various places, I mean, we can talk about that later, but I asked, I think at the hearing, that you at least give everybody what numbers went into the various, fuel costs, we're assuming gallons, and how that compared to the prior year.
I did that work. Based on my trip to the pump today, I think I might have estimated too low, but the background information is our gasoline use is very constant over the years at about 2,000 gallons. And our diesel is also fairly constant at 16,000, a little bit less. And fuel oil has actually gone down 500 gallons in the last 12 months and is running around 6,400 gallons. I use 375 for gasoline and 425 for diesel to get to the number that's in this proposal, which is $66,000, which is exactly what we raised and appropriated last year. We only managed to spend $50,500 of that. It's a crapshoot for me.
What was the fuel oil number?
4.25, I believe.
No, that was diesel.
Okay, you mean
Heating, the gallonage?
heating oil?
No, you said 6,400 of fuel oil.
Yeah, went from 68 to 6,400, 6,350.
That's oil for the furnaces.
Right.
So we're paying three something now, I think 47 or something like that for the school.
David? I might add, I just found the waste oil for the waste oil furnace at the highway garage and the transfer station up there, for that waste oil furnace, $2.60 a gallon.
What oil you used?
No, 349 is what I use. We buy fuel oil with the school district most years, not every year. We're not locked into it for more than 1 year, but it is a commitment. You know, the price is known ahead of time.
Is that what we're doing, this year? Okay.
So far, so good. The 1 year that we didn't do it, it really worked to our advantage, but that, I confess that was not terrific leadership on our part. That was just luck.
More discussion on general government building. Now we'll move on to line I cemetery. Cemetery, $3,500. Any discussion? Line J, insurance, $22,271. Any discussion? Line K, advertising and regional association, $7,500. Any discussion? Line L.
Wait a sec, got one in the back.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Does that increase due to their request, or are we just, the voluntary organization, do they set their fees, or we just give them a voluntary payment?
No,
They ask
it's
specifically.
per capita.
Per capita?
Okay, please, $145,600. Any discussion? Line M, ambulance, $37,200. Any discussion? Line N, fire and forest fire, $71,900. Any discussion? Line O, emergency management, $22,411. Any discussion? Line P, communications, $12,000. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think at the hearing, Mike committed to telling us where the 12,000 number came from, as well as.
What I committed to was trying to get the numbers wrangled up from all the various people, and I did try that very diligently, and I did get everything put together. The cartoon numbers that I have are around $10,000. They break down this way: about $5,000 for the building itself, $2,500 for the electrical work to move the old stuff into the new building and all the work associated with that, and another $2,500 for the new battery rack that would be used for backup power. That was the best I could do, making a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls from people who just didn't respond in a couple of weeks that I gave them, quite honestly. But we're about 10 grand in the cartoon math of that.
How much have we spent on that particular project to date? We had, I noticed
Nothing.
So the money that we had in the previous year's budget on communications was what? It says,
A radio.
2011 we spent, just shy of 2,900.
Right. We went to new radios this year. Tim, we had to go for the different frequencies. And
We
I
went to a
think-
narrowband system, we had to have our
Right.
radios retrofitted to the new narrowband, and that's where we got the money to do that.
So we haven't spent anything on
We
the,
haven't spent anything on it.
We spent quite a bit of time on it.
Well, gobs and time, yes, and gobs of other people's time. But yes, there's been no dollars spent on that.
Any other discussion on communications? Line Q, street lighting, $5,000. Any discussion? Line R, highway.
I got discussion.
Yeah, I just got a quick question in regards to that. Is that use money for maintaining the present lights, or are we gonna be adding more?
That's the electric bill, and that number is $8,000 less than it used to be because we got rid of half of the streetlights after a lot of work, a lot of volunteer hours, asking residents, do you like your streetlight or do you not like your streetlight? And after, I guess it was last spring, they came around and they took away, I think at least 2 more streetlights than they were supposed to. And then we had 2 put back, and now, as far as I know, everybody is completely happy.
Paul, you happy?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear.
Paul was one of the ones that had to go back.
Okay, all done on street lighting? Okay, line R, highways and streets, $420,633. Any discussion? Okay, F, sanitation, solid waste, $134,360. Any discussion? Line T, health agency, $14,000. Any discussion?
If I may address and see what health agencies are we giving this $14,000? Variety, you know, there's one, and what's the purpose?
Yeah, this is where I say, this is the best money we spend. This is home health care and community services, which is hospice and all that stuff. And I experienced hospice myself this summer, and it's amazing. Incredible.
Thank you.
Back up one to sanitation and soil. Can't back up? Go ahead and circle around. Is that the total cost to run the transfer business, or
No.
does Langdon's come in? Is that on top
No,
of
it's
this, or?
not.
It's time for a poster.
I wanted him to get up. Now he's behind a flag, I can't see him.
Stall thing.
Transfer station revenue, $66,495. You get to deduct that from the number there. That's the Langdon participation, $35,000, and that's all that we get paid for all the recyclable stuff. And the real cost is trucking stuff we don't get paid for, but it is offset nicely by that number there. I think I should say that the selectmen are pretty uniformly very pleased with Ernie, who is running things up there now. And it looks great, it runs efficiently, and he is on top of every possible wrinkle in terms of how to make it more of the same.
Question answered?
Oh, yeah, fine.
yeah, and that, we talked about, I think some expense we had in there for disposing of electronic waste.
Yep.
And I don't know, we found out anything more about that since.
And when we ask questions, what did we find out?
Ernie's been shopping it around. He's here. He was. We could ask him.
Ernie?
What was the question?
Electronic waste.
Yeah,
We were looking for alternatives,
yeah.
and so were you.
Yeah, I haven't, come up with anything so far that's any better than what we've got. I've just been checking on different options, and I'm trying to figure out the best route for us to dispose of it, but right now it looks like we're going the best route.
Have you contacted any of these guys that come and pick up stuff, or?
I'm checking on the legal part of that right now, because once we take possession of it, I've been told by a couple of people, becomes our property, and it's supposed to be disposed of properly.
Well,
I think it's important to keep looking. I also think the legal part of it was underscored by, we inherited a piece of World War II equipment 3 weeks ago
Yeah.
that showed up in the metal bin, turned out to be radioactive, and it was sure hard to get rid of after that, and cost us a days later.